The story begins on the Abyss battlefield, as a man named Lin Fei battles against the Abyssal Emperor. The Emperor is sealed in light, and Lin Fei writes his final words. We learn that 20 years ago he was taken in by the master of the sword sect, but he found out he had no potential for cultivation, so he ended up being sent to take care of the library, but he still enjoyed his time there. The flames allow Lin Fei to further refine his body, and after that, he also borrows the flames to Phoenix Iron. Meanwhile, Master Wu returns, and Chun rushes to him, telling him that Lin Fei tricked him and managed to get away. But suddenly, Lin Fei comes bursting out of the furnace. Chun is shocked Lin Fei is still alive, and the master demands the truth. Chun apologizes profusely, but in the end, his master tells him the one thing he doesn't tolerate is being lied to, and he banishes him to the Sword Mountain. After that, the master wonders why Lin Fei jumped into the furnace, but Lin Fei just denies everything and says it was just luck. Seeing Lin Fei was able to escape the furnace without a scratch, he believed that Lin Fei must have a fire controlling skill. They discuss making Lin Fei's weapon, and the master offers to create him a weapon with his best material in exchange for Lin Fei's fire controlling skill, telling him that that is the one thing he is missing to become a true master. Lin Fei realizes it's a misunderstanding and reveals he already has his own material. He shows the master the Phoenix Iron. He is blown away he has the chance to work with such a material, and immediately agrees to make Lin Fei his sword. Later, as Lin Fei tries to get home, he sees a man blocking the way up the mountain and beating up his juniors. He rushes to help, and the man traps him with his flying swords. Lin Fei is impressed he is using such an advanced technique. The swords come flying at him, but he is able to deflect them and manages to break free. But the swords chase after him, and his weapon is destroyed. The man declares the fight is over, but Lin Fei isn't finished, as he activates his sword aura. The man is surprised Lin Fei was holding back, and they clash once again, but Lin Fei is able to stop his attack while delivering his own. The man admits his defeat and introduces himself as Shin. He hopes they can fight again, and he takes his leave. After that, Lin Fei asks Yang about their beef with Shin. Apparently, they had bought a treasure map and went digging in the desert and ended up digging Shin up. Yang thinks it was strange, but Lin Fei tells him that he was cultivating a special technique which requires being in the sand, and they interrupted him. Yang gives Lin Fei a gift for saving them, but Lin Fei suddenly gets serious, asking where he found it. Yang says he found it on the way with the treasure map, and Lin Fei warns him not to tell anyone about it. Back at his house, Lin Fei examines the object and calls it the Eye of Heaven. However, he is too weak to be able to use it, and he considers the only way to get the resources to become stronger would be to participate in the relay assembly. A week later, Master Wu has successfully crafted his sword. Lin Fei infuses his energy into it and a phoenix appears. He is overjoyed to find the master created a spirit weapon for him. Lin Fei thanks the master, but he is just happy he had the chance to make it. Lin Fei talks about the fire controlling skill and asks the master if he has heard of the dragon's breath technique. It is meant to include the fire controlling skill, but the master says it was useless in practice. Lin Fei remembers the prank he pulled in the past and tells the master that the pages in the book are jumbled up. The master is amazed at the realization and offers Lin Fei any of his magic weapons as a reward, but Lin Fei asks to see and train in his mind instead. The master is surprised at his choice but agrees and takes him into the mine. They are transported there, and Lin Fei can feel the energy from the ores. Lin Fei activates his technique and begins absorbing the energy. But after a while, there is too much energy and the technique goes out of control. He calls out to the master, who manages to help contain the energy. However, the technique activates again, drawing more energy in. The master panics, and Lin Fei tells him to use the fire to burn away the excess energy. The master tells him that only works in crafting, but he has no other choice, and tries it anyway. Meanwhile, Tian trains in the forest, and his master is impressed with his growth. His master tells him to do his best in the relay assembly, but tells him not to overdo it. Tian swears he won't disappoint, and wonders how Lin Fei is doing. Back at his house, we see Lin Fei unconscious. Master Wu explains that Lin Fei ended up absorbing all the energy from the mine, breaking through to the next level, and then passing out. Lin Fei's master examines him and says he has suffered an injury to his mind, but there is nothing they can do. Lin Fei wakes up and finds himself in his past life. He sees his friend from the past, and his head begins to ache. He is suddenly chained up and confronted by the Abyss Emperor. The Emperor tells him that his reincarnation and new life were all just in his head. But Lin Fei breaks free, realizing the Emperor is a fake because he talked too much, and kills him again. He realizes he is in an illusion, and he is confronted by himself. Lin Fei tries to fight him, but finds he is just as strong as him. Lin Fei realizes he is just a heart demon, trying to take over his consciousness, and the fake taunts him with the memories of his friends and master. They end up stabbing each other, but light suddenly rains down on the fake, and he fades away. When Lin Fei wakes up, he finds it was his master who helped him. He swears to repay his debt, and his master takes the opportunity to get him to do a task for him. He tells Lin Fei to go to the Sword Mountain and find the sect founder's sword. Only relay disciples are allowed inside the Sword Mountain, and Lin Fei agrees to do his best. Later, Yang brings him his medicine, and he is put off by its bitter taste. But since Yang put the time into making it for him, he forces himself to drink it. Lin Fei realizes that Yang even skipped lunch to prepare the medicine, so he goes to make some food for him. He makes some simple noodles, but Yang finds it to be delicious. Over the next few days, Lin Fei continues to nurse his injury and gives pointers to Yang as he trains. He shows him a new technique, and Yang tirelessly trains it. He thanks Lin Fei for teaching him, and is happy that he won't be the worst at the relay assembly. Lin Fei tells him that although he isn't the strongest, he is gifted to be able to work harder than anyone else. Lin Fei wishes he had worked harder in his previous life, but snaps out of it and says that they should have a nice dinner before the relay assembly the next day, and Yang gets excited to eat his food. Lin Fei also invites Yuna for dinner. Despite her cold appearance, she enjoys his cooking. They are joined by their master, who gets them all to drink, and he wishes them luck at the assembly. The day arrives, and all the young disciples gather for the relay assembly. Lin Fei is still injured and struggles to get up the steps. Tian comes up to him and asks where his junior Yuna is. When he sees her, he is amazed, but he is focused on her magical sword. A bell rings, and the event begins. The sect master explains that all the past masters and elders of the sect have been relay disciples, and the winner of the relay assembly will be named the 14th relay disciple of the sect. He calls for Master Zhao to begin, and the master opens up a portal to the secret lands. They explain that the first round of the contest lasts for 3 days. Each person is given a jade plate, and the top 16 who collect the most jades will move on to the next round. The contestants enter the portal, but as Lin Fei approaches, he notices a man named Tong that exudes hostility toward them. After he passes through the portal, Lin Fei asks Yang who he is. Yang explains that, back when their master still had his power, he destroyed the Quan House's most talented disciple, and that person was Tong's father. Yuna says it would be best to avoid him, and they head through the portal. Inside, they are all split up, and Lin Fei realizes the masters are watching with a remote device. The contest begins and the disciples begin fighting over the jades. Some of them even decide to team up, but as Tong walks past the group, they don't dare to mess with him. Tong asks if they have seen Lin Fei's group, but they haven't, so he continues on. But he unleashes his dragon power to attack the group. Meanwhile, Lin Fei cooks some chicken, hoping to lure some people in, but it's just Tang who shows up. Soon after, more people appear, and Lin Fei easily sees through his opponent's technique and defeats him with a stick. He then coaches Yang as he fights against a girl, pointing out the weaknesses in her technique. With his advice, Yang is able to take the girl's jade. As more people show up, Lin Fei uses this as a chance to train Yang. Yang manages to win against 4 opponents but ends up passing out. Lin Fei helps him into a cave, but he is soon confronted by a group of 3. They don't want to bully him, so the leader steps up to fight. As they trade blows, the other man is shocked at how many different techniques Lin Fei is able to use. In the end, the two clash, and the man admits his defeat and hands over his jade. The other 2 know they are no match, and just hand over their jades. Lin Fei wonders how Yuna is doing, and we see her easily destroy her opponent with just her aura. In the morning, Yang is surprised at all their jades. Lin Fei tells him to take it easy, as he's still recovering. It's the final day of the contest, and Lin Fei says that they have enough jade plates to just wait for the event to end. Meanwhile, a cowardly man named Wang comes across Tong. He manages to dodge Tong's attack and run away. Tong is confused how his attack missed, and chases after him. Wang warns him not to push him, but Tong is intrigued and continues to attack. He attacks with his dragon technique, but Wang unsheathes his sword and blocks the attack. Wang starts to panic, saying it's too late, and a spirit appears behind Tong and grabs him. Tong senses the spirit, but it's invisible to his eyes. A spirit appears behind Wang as well, and he blames Tong for dooming them both. The two clash, but the fight is stopped as the end of the contest is announced. Lin Fei and Yang celebrate passing, and we see Yuna and Tian have also passed. The elders announce that the relay assembly will continue after 7 days, and in the meantime, the winning contestants are given the chance to cultivate at the sword wall. The contestants are amazed at the opportunity, but Lin Fei wonders what's so special about it. The master guides them to the entrance and warns them that fighting is prohibited. When they get inside, Lin Fei sees the sword wall and has a flashback of his friend. His friend confronts a great beast and manages to seal it away. All the disciples look on at the markings on the wall, and as Yan looks, a slash jumps out at him and he panics. But Lin Fei reminds him not to give up. As Lin Fei looks at the wall, he sees that the markings are helpful for improving with the sword, but he is more interested in something else. The next day, everyone keeps cultivating, but Lin Fei suddenly takes out food and begins eating with his friends. Tong is annoyed by this, but Lin Fei says that there is no rule against having food. The masters also debate this, with Master Zhao wanting to kick Lin Fei out. But they suddenly see his disciple Wang also eating with them, and Zhao quickly changes his mind and agrees that there is no rule against food. Master Wu wonders what Lin Fei has been up to. While everyone else has been cultivating, he has been messing around. The final day at the sword wall arrives, and all the disciples have made significant advancements in their cultivation. Tian is proud of his improvement, but hears that Lin Fei was the only one who didn't improve. He goes back to look for him, but finds Lin Fei opening up a secret area as a black mist bursts out. Later, Tian looks confused and runs into his master. Tian asks him if he has ever seen the black mist, and his master becomes serious. Tian tells him that he went into a special area with Lin Fei, and 9 special seals appeared. They were even more advanced than the markings on the outside, and Tian managed to memorize 3 of them. His master is intrigued by Lin Fei and tells Tian not to mention this to anyone else. Meanwhile, back at Lin Fei's house, he has memorized all 9 seals and concentrates his power to create one of them, but then he realizes he is late and rushes to the arena. The second round of the relay assembly is a tournament, and we see Shin as he fights against another man. His flying swords get broken, and everyone thinks Shin is about to lose. We meet a man named Duan, as he says Shin will lose in 10 moves. Shin struggles to defend himself, but Lin Fei offers Duan a wager. Duan is not interested, but Lin Fei offers up a rare artifact, and Duan takes the bet. The man easily defends against Shin's flying swords, but he combines them all together and pierces the man. The man admits his defeat, and Lin Fei goes to collect his winning. But suddenly, they get matched up together in their next fight, and Duan suggests they double down on their bet. The two get into the ring, and Lin Fei draws his phoenix sword. Everyone is amazed he has a spirit weapon, but Duan remains confident in his assassination techniques. Duan rushes at him, and in an instant, he suddenly disappears. Duan emerges from his shadow, and Lin Fei barely dodges, but gets hit and frozen by Duan's ice sword. Duan disappears into his shadow again, slashing Lin Fei as he reappears, and freezing his body. Lin Fei is completely frozen, and Duan finishes him off. Duan becomes confused when the fight is not declared to be over. He realizes that he was fighting an illusion, and Lin Fei also knows the assassination technique. Lin Fei appears from behind and catches him off guard. Although Lin Fei knows his technique, Duan says he is just a jack of all trades. But Lin Fei challenges him to see who is better. The two fight, and they both keep teleporting around to attack each other. But it ends with a clash, and Lin Fei is the winner. Yang is up next, and he manages to win with a single attack. But his technique takes a toll on his body, and Lin Fei takes him back home to rest. The fights continue on, as Tong easily wins using his ice and dragon techniques, and Yuna also destroys her opponents with a single slash. Back at Lin Fei's house, he helps Yang heal. Suddenly, a depressed Tian asks to stay the night. He tells them that he lost his fight against Wang in the most embarrassing way, as he tripped over and fell out of the ring. He swears there was something strange about Wang, and Lin Fei says he could be using the misfortune sword technique, a technique that brings bad luck and makes their opponent lose control and die before they can even attack. Tian can't believe how overpowered it is, but Lin Fei tells him that it affects the user as well. The draw for the next day's fight arrives, and Lin Fei finds he is up against Wang. The next day arrives, but Wang is nowhere to be found. Master Zhao finds him outside, and Wang tells him he wants to quit. He doesn't want to hurt people with his misfortune. His master understands and lets him go. As Zhao is about to withdraw his disciple, Wang returns, not wanting to let his master down. The fight begins, and Lin Fei tries to end things quickly, but he struggles to land a hit and even hurts himself. Wang activates his technique, and a spirit appears behind each of them. Lin Fei uses his clone technique to attack from all sides and catch Wang off guard. But as he goes in for the kill, the spirit alters his attack, and he ends up headbutting Wang instead. Looking at Wang, Lin Fei realizes he uses the most simple sword technique, so his misfortune doesn't affect it. So Lin Fei attacks using his most basic attacks. The crowd is disgusted by his crude technique, but Wang struggles to defend himself. He is on the verge of defeat, but he activates his ultimate technique, which converts all of his luck into a single attack. However, the attack is stopped by Lin Fei's mysterious seal, and he absorbs the attack. Zhao catches his disciple, and Lin Fei doesn't really remember what happened, but is told that he won. Yang is up against Tong next, and he attacks using his most powerful technique, but it's not enough to break through Tong's defenses. Tong counters with his ice and dragon techniques. He goes for the finishing blow, but the match is stopped, and he is declared the winner. Shin overwhelms his next opponent, and Yuna easily wins her fight, and they both make it into the top 4. They draw names to see who their opponent will be, and Lin Fei is matched against Tong, and Yuna is against Shin. Lin Fei begins his fight with Tong, and Lin Fei attacks using his clone technique. Tong unleashes his dragons to fight the clones, and Lin Fei is unable to get through his defense. Tong throws his sword up, transforming it into a dragon, and Lin Fei shields himself. Tong plans on devouring Lin Fei's power and embarrassing him in front of everyone. Lin Fei warns him about eating his power, and Tong's dragon is frozen. Tong is weakened, and Lin Fei takes the chance to break through his defense and stab him. The fight is over, and Tong's master pulls the ice energy from his body. He gets mad and attacks Lin Fei, but Lin Fei's master appears and blocks the attack. The master unleashes the seal on his body, and a dark power is unleashed. Lin Fei realizes there is something terrifying within his body. For over 100 years, he has kept this power sealed, despite being bullied for being weak. Tong tries to protect his master. He is about to get annihilated, but his master quickly apologizes for attacking Lin Fei. Out of respect for the sect master, he reseals his power and leaves with Lin Fei. Back at their home, the master suddenly coughs blood, and he tells Lin Fei to get his medicine. After that, the master tells Lin Fei to focus on the final battle with Yuna, as he predicts she will easily defeat Shin. He reveals that Yuna is the reincarnation of a fallen fairy, and with her magic weapon, Shin has no chance. Just like the master predicted, Shin's swords are easily destroyed, and Yuna wins her match. The next day, the final match begins, and Lin Fei tries to go on the offensive, but is forced to dodge Yuna's sword aura. Lin Fei is continually attacked, and all he can do is dodge. He even tries to go invisible, but that is no use. The masters are impressed by Yuna, and Zhao says Lin Fei is lucky they aren't fighting at night in the moonlight. No matter what Lin Fei tries, all he can do is dodge. Lin Fei decides to change things up, and uses Shin's flying sword technique. He tries to keep her distracted so she has no chance to attack him. The swords attack from all sides, and one eventually lands on her. There is suddenly a solar eclipse, and Lin Fei realizes that this is her domain. Yuna's sword is awakened, and she blows away all of Lin Fei's swords. The masters are amazed, but say that Yuna cannot sustain the power for long, so the next strike will determine everything. Lin Fei has always used different techniques, but decides to use his original move called Catastrophe's End. His power swells, and everyone is shocked he has so much energy. The eclipse radiates, as Yuna also powers up. Yuna sends her slash at him, and Lin Fei takes it head-on. In the end, they are both standing, but Lin Fei is the winner. Everyone cheers for him, but Lin Fei faints after losing too much blood. Lin Fei wakes up to see his old master. He cries over missing him, and his master gives him some ice cream, like in the past. The master tells him that he entrusts the sect to him, and he sees all his friends. Lin Fei promises that this time he will make sure to protect everyone. When he wakes up, he is surrounded by his friends, and they congratulate him on his victory. He goes to meet the sect master, and he is awarded with a token and named the 14th relay disciple. Lin Fei returns home and trains. He tells his master he plans on going to the Sword Mountain to face the trials. but there is a bird that watches him, and it seems the Abyss Emperor is still alive. But that's where this video ends. I hope you enjoyed this series. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.